bloodsuckers.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell,
Join us!
you will realize that there is something ahead.
Groovy.
Something that lurks behind the dark veil.
We have such sights to show you.
A veil that is beyond our own comprehension.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, it's episode 190. I am Alex.
And I'm Christina.
And we are having a bad day.
Yes.
My fucking head has been killing me for 6 hours straight. I had a migraine waking up, guys. I'm sorry I'm yelling at you in the morning.
So
I love you all.
Let's do a podcast.
Yeah, so if I'm a little off today, just understand that I'm like, even me just talking louder is like destroying my brain, but I can't give up on the podcast. That's the one thing every week that I will not let pass, okay? So it's going to happen whether I like it or not, okay? For the sake of you guys. Donate now. Just kidding. Anyway, guys, we got a good show for you. We're going to be talking about two movies today. We kind of just did a grab bag of stuff, just stuff that we wanted to see. Now, these two movies that we're going to be talking about today are considered to be mostly thrillers, but I personally feel that a lot of horror fans are into thrillers and maybe not realize it. Some people may organize it as horror. Depends on what you think horror is, really. Some people think, oh, only horror movies are movies that are scary. Well, I'm like, I'm not scared by horror movies anymore. So are they all not horror? So am I like, you know what I mean? So, but I think there are some outer fringe sort of genre films that these are. And the first one we're going to be talking about today is Identity from 2003 with John Cusack. And we're also going to be talking about
TIMECRIMES from 2007.
That's right. So it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about it. We enjoyed watching these films. We'll talk about whether or not, what we think of each of these films, of course. But how are you, Christina? How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Terrible. Yeah,
Good.
as mentioned before.
Good.
Yeah, I'm trying to have some personality here. I even called off the stream. Usually what I do, guys, is I'll record the episode with Christina and then I'll go and do a Twitch stream like an hour later. So I called that off today because my fucking head, dude. But you're better than me. She's been taking care of me. Thank you, by the way.
Trying.
I've been a little asshole.
Yep.
But it's really frustrating when you're writhing around in agony and you can't get comfortable. Like migraines really just,
So yelling at your girlfriend helps.
I didn't yell. There's no way I would have yelled because it would have hurt my head.
You know what I mean.
Microaggressions. Anyway, guys, I think it might be that time.
What time is it?
HORRORSHOTS! Neat. Yelling is fun. Yay! So, of the two movies we watched today, now, that doesn't always necessarily mean that when we pick a movie to do a shot for, it just was what we want to do a shot for and what makes more sense sometimes. So this week, we're going to be doing a shot based on the movie TIMECRIMES. And this week, it's called a paradox shot, or a paradoja shot, if you want to speak in Spanish. But what is in a paradox shot? Well, in the movie, there is some time travel. Paradoxical. I will not spoil anything for you at this point, but let's just say that there's some weird things that happen with time. And of course, we wanted to make a shot based around it. So what is in a paradox shot from TIMECRIMES?
Got Red Bull?
It's first off, it's a Jaeger bomb.
Oh, okay.
So technically what you're going to be doing, but it's a different type of Jaeger bomb. We spiced it up a little, made it BTV style. So it is a Jaeger bomb. You pour one shot separately of Jaeger.
Of Jaeger.
And you fill up a cup that will be able to take, you can drop a shot in with 3/4 Red Bull and 1/4 strawberry margarita mix.
Because that's what we have.
We were going to, and if you have this, you could just fill it up with a full cup with strawberry Rockstar. It's called like whipped strawberry we were trying to get, but I've been sick all day, so we didn't go to get it or anything like that. And we're not even going to be taking the shots here today, but we are going to do it this week and put up a video for you guys to show you that, you know, we do drink this shit, but just have fun with it because I do want to try it. But so if you have the ingredients, you can do strawberry Rockstar, whipped cream Rockstar, something like that, and do a 1 cup of that, and then drop your Jägermeister in that and slam it. And that is a Paradox shot. But if you want to do it our way, you can do it that way too. And that's just 3/4 of a cup of Rockstar with 1/4 of a cup strawberry margarita mix. And boom, BTV.
Horror shot.
Horror shot.
Horror shot.
So if you would like to find out the ingredients for this or just, remind yourself, you can always go to our longlivethevoid.com to check out our hashtag horror shot section. Now, that's it for horror shots. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Identity from 2003 and
Time Crimes
from 2007. Had to add one in there.
Right now.
All right, so Christina's done the work on this one. You want to go ahead and kick it off?
I could kick it off.
Kick it off. What does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, kick.
Is that
you
a
gotta kick off. Like, what does it technically mean?
Isn't that like a football term?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably a sports thing.
Yes,
unless it's some like crazy racist thing or something like that, and we've been using it wrong for all these years. Because I think about that stuff. You know, like we say something.
Okay.
No. I'm just saying, like, there's things that we've said that belong, like,
ashes. We all
yeah,
fall
just
down.
like weird things. Like one of the ones that I always remember is from a movie was Boondock Saints, where they talk about the rule of thumb, and it was like you could beat a woman within an inch of her life or something like that. Like technically, there's these terms that just stuck. And that we don't even really know what their meanings are and where they originated from, and they don't even represent the origins that they are. So I just think it's kind of interesting, like why that is. But anyway, continue on. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Let's kill some birds with some stones.
Okay, there you go.
All
That's
right.
racist, by the way.
Is it?
No. But shouldn't you know? Go ahead, Christina.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the point. That's why I'm saying what I
Okay.
said.
Identity is about, the synopsis is, stranded in a desolate Nevada motel during a nasty rainstorm, 10 strangers become acquainted with each other when they realize that they're being killed off one by one.
Shit.
Tagline is, the secret lies within in.
Within in?
Within in. The secret lies
Oof.
within in.
That's terrible.
Isn't it?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, it's pretty, well, because,
it's like it's a little
plot.
wink. It's like, hello.
Yeah, it's like-
Do you know what we're talking about? Bet you don't.
We're deep.
Sounds weird, right?
Identity was directed by James Mangold, who has also done The Wolverine, Logan, Ford versus Ferrari, which I haven't seen yet, Girl Interrupted, and Walk the Line, that Johnny Cash movie.
Wait, that's the writer?
No, that is the director.
Oh, okay, good. Because I'm getting confused because the writer of this movie is a director of a movie that I really like and we watch every Christmas.
Right.
So
And you're talking about Michael Cooney, who wrote this movie, and he also wrote Jack Frost 1 and 2. He also wrote a movie called Six Souls.
right, and it's the Jack Frost, horror movie, not the cool, fun Michael Keaton one.
Right.
Whimsical Michael Keaton movie.
I forgot about that Michael
Yeah.
Keaton movie. This movie stars John Cusack, who plays Ed. Everybody knows John Cusack. What's your favorite John Cusack movie?
Well, I don't know.
Mine is The Raven, and
Really?
yes, I really like.
I like
him in The
1403 better than The Raven.
Raven. Yeah, I don't remember that movie, but I also like 2012 because he was in
1403. I think is that Stephen King story where he's up in a hotel,
right?
Where he's like a writer of fiction, and it's like really meta and like all over the place. But yeah, anyway, continue.
Anyway, Ray Liotta, who plays Rhodes, of course, he was in Goodfellas. He was in Hannibal, and recently he's been in a show called Shades of Blue. Amanda Peet, who plays Paris. She was also in 2012 with John Cusack.
Yeah, you're not going to Paris tonight.
Do you think they named her character Paris after?
Just to have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Okay, anyway. She was also in The Whole Nine Yards, Saving Silverman. Recently, she was in a show called Brockmire, which was a few seasons in, and I've never even heard of it.
Sounds familiar. I've seen her in stuff.
Clea Duvall, who plays Jeannie, she was in The Faculty. Also, Girl Interrupted, who, directed this movie too.
She was really popular, like, for a little while back in that time frame.
Right.
Lots of teen movies and stuff.
She was in The Grudge. I totally forgot she was in The Grudge from 2004.
Yeah, well, and I thought she had stopped acting because I was so used to seeing her with the blonde hair. Like, I was saying that through the movie. I was like, whatever happened to her? Anyway, I'm like, she's still acting, idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, because recently she was in that Lizzie Borden Chronicle
Think
show.
so, yeah.
Yeah, with Christina Ricci. Anyway, and John C. McGinley, who plays George. Of course, he was in Scrubs. That's what he's known for. I also forgot he was in Point Blank. And Stan Against...
Gross Point Blank, you mean?
No, Point Break.
Point Break. Oh, okay.
And Stan Against Evil and The Belko Experiment.
Yeah. He was like the creepy guy in the Belko Experiment.
Right.
He's great. He's just like a really good character actor.
Right. And he was different in this movie too. The budget on this movie was $28 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it grossed $52 million.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
I thought I got 90 worldwide, maybe.
Oh, maybe it was worldwide. This is just domestic. Was this your first time seeing this movie?
Of course not. No, I've seen this in the past a couple of times.
And what do you think of this movie?
First, I just want to say, as I was going up the stairs, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish he'd go away.
What the? I don't understand that. I didn't even, it didn't grasp me.
It's just something that is supposed to be mysterious, I'm sure, but I have some trivia on that.
Oh, okay, good.
So this isn't my first time watching. Like I said, I've seen this a couple of times in the past, but it has been a little bit of time since I've seen it. This is the first time, of course, reviewing it also. Super memorable movie, in my opinion, that is kind of hard to discuss without spoiling it, guys. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to do my best here, but here goes. And I'm going to keep it brief. So just understand my enthusiasm or non-enthusiasm, if there is some. It is a high concept movie masked as a straightforward killer on the loose kind of film. It's been called an American psychological slasher, and I sort of agree with that to some degree in some regards, but ultimately it's a mystery thriller with horror movie elements. I also think it has a great cast, some really great performances and some pretty crafty writing, which is surprising because when you think about the guy who wrote Jack Frost, sure, it's pretty crafty writing and there's some really funny jokes in that movie. The first one, the second one, woo, boy, is that a scorcher? I don't even think I can make it through. But Michael Cooney, I think, did a really good job on this, and it's surprising that he wrote this. But there is some people that say that it is kind of borrowed from Agatha Christie novel. In the beginning anyway, and then it turns into its own thing. I would think that the writing in this film would actually have put him up in the writing scene in Hollywood a little bit more, because it did do pretty well and it was a pretty popular film. It's definitely more memorable than I think some people give it credit. I thought that there was some pretty outstanding performances in this, considering that there's just so many fucking characters with really strong parts, and they all seem to really flow and work together really well, like a very good thriller with storytelling, or any of those movies where like all of these characters with side stories come together and one like thing, you know? Like, what was that one movie we watched, at the Old Royale or whatever the fuck it is? It's like that Tarantino-esque kind of thing.
Right.
Where they tell all these separate stories and then they all converge into one big story.
It makes me think of Four Rooms.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
movie.
It's kind of like that, but it's not in segments like that, of
right.
course. John Cusack obviously is pretty great in this too. I think this is excellent work by him. Personally, he's gotten a little bit older these days, you know, and it's kind of harder to see him in the roles. And like, I don't know. There's something about John Cusack when he plays a serious role. He does a really good job, I think.
Right.
He's good in comedy too, though. So it's kind of interesting because like he was good in a Hot Tub Time Machine, which is just weird.
I don't remember.
Plus Ray Liotta, I think, does a great job too. It's just good in general, I think. Mm-hmm. One could probably argue that it takes its time getting to the good stuff, but, you know, it's done the way it needs to be done in order to pack the punch this movie offers for its grand finale, which might also coincidentally make this one a movie you pop on with further distances between the watches, because you may, by the end, it's like one of those, kind of movies that you're like, well, I probably can't watch this every year.
Right.
You know, but if it wasn't for the strong performances, it would be harder to rewatch in general, I think.
Right.
You know, because once the jig is up, the more time and the distance you put between the movie, seeing it again, the better off it ends up. And even in my recollection, I actually was like, oh yeah, that's what happened. So I was kind of like watching out for the different like clues in the film while you were watching it for your first time. So still, I like it a lot. I'd say it's at least an 8. It's not gory, but it's a cool, really crafty concept that I think anyone can appreciate at least once.
Right.
You know, even if you wouldn't watch it again, and maybe that counts for scores on other people's like scores in their minds or on their reviews. They may score it lower because they wouldn't watch it so often, but I still think it's an 8 movie. I think it's well done, caught me off guard, and I like some of the kind of darkness to it and how some of it happens. It kind of goes for it. This movie, by the way, is available for rent, or you can watch it as a 7-day free trial from Starz through Amazon.
That's what we did.
Yeah, and it wasn't on Tubi or anything like that, but I'm sure you could probably find it in any one of your digital retailers to watch online somewhere if you wanted, or probably find a DVD or cheap Blu-ray or something.
Do you own this?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And I always get this one and that other movie with Bill Paxton that he did about his kids and stuff, and like thinking they were demons and shit.
Oh, what's that?
I don't know. It's one with him with an axe. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. I think we covered it once years ago. So, but what did you think? I'm curious to hear what you think. This is your first time watching.
Which is weird, but I found out why I never watched this movie. But like the way you think of horror movies from the 80s and 70s is what I think about 90s and the 2000 movies.
Really?
Yeah, I really do.
What do you mean by that? I don't know if I quite follow.
Because you really, like what I'm saying is the way you feel about 80s, 70s, and 80s.
Oh, you
horror
like
movies,
these kind of movies, yeah.
Yes, I prefer 90s and
because I like
2000s.
wading through the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
talking about.
Okay.
And then I didn't realize why I never saw this movie, but then I remember like, 2003, and I had to think about it. I was like, oh, I was in a relationship at the time, and the guy didn't watch horror movies, so I did it. I was young and
Oh, there's your problem right there.
Yeah, exactly. So
What a piece of shit.
Well, yeah, obviously. But
I don't really care.
so I'm glad I got to watch this movie. I like this movie. I did feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I saw it when it came out, because it is a little dated.
Yeah.
I mean, you could totally tell it's a movie from the 2000s because of the way it glows.
Right. But they use a lot of different old stuff in there to kind of like obscure the date. Almost. Do you know? Like it could
But they had
kind of floats in time.
Like the cell phones were from that era.
Right. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And the way that they dressed. And she was in those hip hugging, like, which only from like 2000 to 2005.
Right.
Girls
And
wore
then
those.
and then the young couple were kind of like still dragging the 90s into the 2000s almost.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
The
let it
couple.
go, buddy. Let it go.
Lip gloss.
Yeah.
All the girls had lip
Yeah.
gloss.
Well, the hairstyle of hers is totally 90s anyway.
Totally.
So
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. But but I like this movie. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it tries to be clever and misleading, but the best parts were the beginning, and it did get a little, like you said, it did drag for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then once things started to unravel, it kind of started falling apart for me. And towards the end, I mean,
okay,
I didn't really grasp.
So you didn't like the grand finale?
I liked like half of it, but I don't know. I thought it could have been done better, and I think other movies have taken this concept and done a better job with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't even think of a movie before this that did this type of thing. Especially
for this time, for the segment of what happens at the end was kind of new in a way, I think, but.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good psychological thriller, and it had blood in it, which is nice. The kills were really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably watch it again. Probably not every year, maybe in the background, but I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I thought you would like this a little bit more than that, but yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, you were, I mean, I kind of asked her, I was like, so did you enjoy it? Like, now she won't give me a score. She'll just tell me, yeah. And I can kind of base off what her score is going to be a little bit.
How close were you?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I expected.
Yeah.
Like the way your response was. But I'm really good at reading people when it comes to stuff like that. Like the intonation and how they say things, like really echoes in my head, and I think about it.
Oh, good. So now that I know that, I'll think about that the next time you ask me.
Yeah, she'll try to throw me off.
I'll try to throw you off.
But so between the two of us, I said 8, she said 7. So it's a 7.5 between both of us. I think that's pretty fair. I think it's one of those movies that like 8s to me are like movies that I think are good movies that I will watch I won't be afraid to pull off the shelf. I won't question it.
Right.
But they're also movies that could have been great that weren't just that. Mm-hmm. So, like I have Ready or Not, like is one of those movies.
Right.
Brightburn. A lot of potential there, but didn't go to the greatness level 100%, even though I love the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I love these movies. It's just, yeah. So, but yeah, so we do have some trivia and things to talk about, some sort of, information on the movie, and we got some scenes that we're going to bring up. Both of these movies, we're not going to go down the route of the whole, 80s so bad it's good route where we make fun of the movie. We will make fun of stuff, obviously, but I just mean we're not going to break down the whole movie like we do with older movies that we typically do, because those ones are kind of fun to do.
Right.
But this one and these ones are really twisty movies, guys, that we're going to be talking about.
Twisty.
So if we were to break them down, it would get a little bit much. So highly recommend you check it out. I think a 7.5 is pretty good for anybody that wants to check out a movie that maybe they missed back in the day. If you're one of those people that never did get to check it out. If you're a fan of John Cusack, I'd say check it out.
Definitely.
I think it's one of the top few movies that he's done that, are well within liking the guy. Like 1408 is one of my favorites of his in horror. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into our spoilers and trivia. Here's your warning. So is there anything you want to say off the bat, first off, that about the movie? Doesn't have to be super spoilerific or anything like that, but that you just would like, maybe we can talk about the ending or something like that.
You know what? So towards the beginning, I've noticed like they tried to it seemed like they were trying to do like a Quentin Tarantino thing where they kept going back. Mm-hmm. It's like he was trying to connect each character's story together.
Right. I think they cut a lot out. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, that too.
They tried to make it real tightly packed.
If you think about it, they didn't really have much to cut out because, the ending of the whole concept.
There was some stuff I read that they did cut out a lot because, like, that story about the girl who was a working girl, that guy that she was like...
Oh, in the beginning?
In the beginning where she tied him up and was, like, going through his wallet or was about to kill him or whatever, was one of the other identities to that guy. Right. So, yeah, and if you guys are listening now, this is pretty spoilerific because, yeah, I'm just going to give you a warning because, like, you are going to ruin this film. The best thing about this film is pretty much not knowing.
Right.
Until the end.
Right.
But they halfway through kind of tell you. They kind of tell you in the beginning too, so I guess it's not that bad.
Yeah, you kind of get the point.
Well, if you watch the title screen, the opening stuff, and you watch the articles and stuff, you can kind of piece it together. I totally did. It was like ID number 1, ID character number 2.
Right.
And I'm like, what is he doing? And then they talk about him having multiple personalities and all this other stuff in it. So what did you think of that angle, though, with this movie and kind of how they physically put the different characters in his mind into one hotel setting? Did you like that?
Yeah, I guess so.
I want to know what this procedure that they were doing for it was. Like, they were talking about the doctor that was, like, you know, working on this patient who has all this dissociative disorder, which is what they call it now. They don't even call it multiple personality disorder anymore.
Right.
It's dissociative disorder, right?
I think so, yeah.
Pretty sure that's the multiple personalities, like IBS.
Right.
Where a dissociative disorder is...
IBS, isn't that irritable bowel syndrome?
Yeah, but a lot of people say, oh, I got IBS.
Oh, I see.
But there's like celiacs, and then there's like cancer or ulcers, and then there's like all these categories of different things under IBS.
Right.
Multiple personality disorder also has like...
multiple different levels.
Yeah, different levels of stuff too.
Right.
So, and I think it's also like PC to say dissociative disorder.
Right.
But I mentioned earlier about the Agatha Christie thing.
Yeah.
So Identity is not a direct remake of the novel called And Then There Were None, sometimes known as 10 Little Indians, by Agatha Christie. So the film takes different plot points from the story. The dialogue even references that movie where the 10 strangers went to an island and then they all died one by one. Although the play and film adaptations give the story a happy ending, Identity keeps the original novel's ending, where the killer is revealed as one of the victims who faked their death and where no one survives the incident. Though by the novel's account, the killer commits suicide after convincing the last survivor to kill themselves as well. So interesting. I haven't, if I did read Agatha Christie, it was probably because my mom read it. You know what I mean? Like that was like her shit. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what was a good multiple personality type of thing? Remember that show United States of Terror?
yeah.
That was such a good show.
Well, that just showed her acting chops. That really was what the show was. I don't know to the validity of like how they present the fucking mental disorder or whatever, you know, like, I don't know if it's like true dissociative disorder to be that way or not.
Right.
But it is really fascinating.
It was fascinating. Yeah.
It is. It's fascinating that you can create these characters in your own mind.
Right.
And it almost seems so real that
it like possesses you. Like
yeah,
they possess you.
It's like you're being possessed by like 20 different people, which is, they even do it in like the movie. I don't know if you remember the movie Moving with Richard Pryor.
No, I don't remember.
Who's the guy who's in Wayne's World who plays Garth?
Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey plays a guy with multiple personalities that goes to pick up Richard Pryor's car to take it out to Idaho. And he's got so many different personalities. The one that he meets is this perfect guy, but he has like all these different personalities. He's like, I'm going to choke every single one of your fucking personalities. Because he ends up destroying the car. Spoiler alert, but it's funny. That thing where we were talking about as I was going up the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish he'd go away. Is the main, the person whose mind these characters are coming from, who's by Shaky Eyes. What's his name again? I forgot.
Oh,
Vincent something or another. Hold on.
It's Shaky Eyes.
Pruitt Taylor Vince is his name.
I actually met him.
Yeah, you did. No, well, go ahead, tell the story.
It was like Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. Oh God, it was 09 or 10. I forget.
Yeah, he's always recognizable.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
He always played those like characters off to the side a little bit,
right?
And he's had some really good roles. I think he was
in Heroes.
He was in that movie where. Oh, what was that movie where they're like, oh, I think he was in Bye Bye Man.
You're right, he was.
He was the guy that was tracking down and finding the information or something, was he?
Yep.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
I remember because I was like,
not a great movie, but you know, it's cool to see him show his chops.
He's that guy. You know what I mean? Like you don't know his name, but you always see him everywhere.
Well, the thing that he says there, the whole poem about going up the stairs and I wish he'd go away and everything, is actually a written poem. It's a poem titled Antigonish by William Hughes Mearns. It's also been turned into a popular song, giving it widespread attention. So it isn't something he made up in his mind. I'm wondering why they chose to say that in the script, though, because he's like, the doctor's like, where did you hear that? And he's like, I made it up in my mind.
You made it up in your what? Your moon?
His mind. Did I say me?
It sounded like it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to make fun of you. That's interesting.
The majority of the movie was shot on a huge soundstage, which is no surprise. We figured that out. We were talking about that while we were watching
I was like,
it.
that rain is
It's got that look.
That studio rain.
Yeah, it's got that look, you know,
Right.
like you can kind of tell. But it was done in Culver City, the same studio, the Sony Studios, that was the set for the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah. In the first draft, the killer was a female teacher from Australia. And they decided that a female teacher who was a serial killer may not go down too well with some of the parent groups that were going to be reviewing this, or, you know, probably rating this movie or something.
Right.
It's just so funny, like, thinking back now to those times.
Yeah.
And, like, how fragile everything, you know what I mean? Like how different it is from today.
It's always fragile in some way or another.
Right, but it's also sometimes more fragile now than it was before in some areas, like with how you, like, what is correct or not, you know what I mean? Like, what issues you discuss.
Yeah, it might just be who's the president.
Well, and also because, you know, like a lot of movies now, big time movies, they'll have like advisors who come on the set to talk about specific things. Right. And, you know, it's almost like to like deflect any kind of like.
You know, Marsha Clark does that.
Really?
Yeah, she's like an advisor on TV shows and stuff. She goes in and says, you know, that's not what they would do. Or they do that with writing teams now. Like they sit down and help them write and like edit their stuff to make it more realistic.
Yeah. So, and it's like, that's one thing. If I were to write, like, I think I have some pretty cool concepts, but writing dialogue for characters is a whole nother world, guys.
Oh,
like,
yeah, because
ideas are easy.
You could tell in some of the movies we watch, like that when the dialogue just sucks.
Right, and then in this movie, I think they did a really good job.
Oh yeah, they totally did.
Like, it was very nuanced. It felt real. It felt, you know, a little bit more characterized, but it was good.
Right, it was good.
But that's pretty much it. That's all I have, you know, for the stuff. I don't have the Blu-ray or anything like that. So, you know, I do have some trivia tucked into some of the scenes that we'll be talking about here. There was a scene in the very beginning because like John Cusack's character in this movie is a limo driver named Ed. And Ed is driving one of the prima donna fucking actresses who is past her prime. And she's still hanging on to it by being bitchy and pretending it still exists, even though it's really not as good as she says it is, which is a little meta-ness, you know, like in the film, you know, like film within a film.
Right.
So, but there's an accident. They hit the mom. You find that out.
That was like, oh my God.
Dude, she goes flipping up over the hood and shit and then rolls off the back and the kid's all like putting his hand up on the window, which is he was getting her set up. To kill her.
Yeah. I realize that now.
It was the stronger identity that was like...
Right, who was controlling everything.
Right, he was like the god of that world, pretty much. Which is interesting, like, that the kid is...
Yeah.
You know, because it's all the same person, right?
That was a creepy kid.
He really is. You know who he looked like to me? Is Balthazar Getty. Like
Who's that?
Really young Balthazar Getty.
Who's that?
Well, I always remember him from Lost Highway, but he was in Twin Peaks, Feast. He was in a ton of stuff.
Oh, are you talking about the small guy?
I don't know about
Twin Peaks? I don't know, but okay.
Whatever. Anyway, if you guys know what I'm talking about, shout out. She's missed entire 2000s, I guess. What was it? 90s and 2000s?
No, it was really only like 2001 to 2004.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's where I missed. That's where I was sheltered. But
anyway, he did look creepy, and he just looked like his face just looked like is it Balthazar Getty or I don't know. There's somebody that looks like similar to that kid, and I felt like that was the younger version, but I'm like, this is 2003, so he's probably like, you know, he's like pretty old now. He's in his 20s now. So it's kind of weird, right? But there's a scene where the kid, he pushes her, he touches the thing, and the mom goes over the hood, and he asks the kid for a towel in the middle of the fucking rain, by the way. Did you notice that? We were laughing, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I was like, a towel? He's like, here, keep her dry with that. I'm like, it's literally downpouring right now.
Right.
There's no, like, anything blocking it. The towel's already soaked by the time he pulls it out of the car. But so I just thought that was funny. I don't know.
Well, didn't he say, stay here, keep her dry? He said, keep her dry.
Yeah, he's like, tells the dad to keep her dry.
Yeah. I was like, okay. That made
Laying
no
on
sense.
the ground in the puddle.
Yeah, some of this stuff didn't make some of
I'm
the
sure it was
dialogue
just
didn't
like
make sense.
written that way and they didn't like logistically think about it.
Right.
Maybe it was like a decision to make it rain
Right.
on the whole set because they did talk about that a little bit and how they wanted it to be rainy.
Rain on me.
Right.
Rain on me.
Okay. All right. I also love that the pampered actress is a Karen the whole time.
She was a Karen before there were any Karens.
Yeah, I know. She was the original Karen. No, there's probably many. But John Cusack's character is not taking any of her shit, and I fucking love it. Like, he's just pulling her out of the car.
Okay, now here's something. I don't mean to jump ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just a little bit. So one thing I didn't understand is that they got in the car, they went to the hotel to drop her ass off, and they didn't have a phone at the hotel. So he's like, okay, well, I'll drive. You stay here. I'm going to drive to the hospital.
Right.
It's like, wouldn't you want to drive her to the hospital?
No,
I mean, of
because
course they
like,
could
what if
go,
they
but-
had to stay there the whole time? She's pampered. He was telling her to stay at the hotel.
Oh, no, no, that I understand, but why didn't you take the injured woman with you to the hospital? Why did you
Because
leave
he was
the
afraid to
injured woman
move
there?
her or something.
So, see, that didn't make any sense to me. I would.
Well,
want
they tell
get
you not to
into-
move her, and they were moving her around
Yeah,
quite a bit.
they were
so.
like flinging her around his shoulder and carrying her and all
Yeah.
this shit. But that didn't make any sense to me. But it didn't have to make sense because it wasn't real.
Yeah, there was, then of course, you get introduced to the characters pretty fast, so it's like,
Yeah.
they're just kind of just making the checkpoints, like
And
all
there
of
was a
them.
lot of characters. Like, I didn't even say everyone else who.
There really
like,
was.
Jake Busey was in this movie.
Which I like Jake Busey.
Yeah, he's pretty good in this too. He plays crazy, like really good.
Well, he's just got that crazy look about him, He was in the fucking, that's why they picked him for Peter Jackson film, The Frighteners. Because he just looks like a quirky bad guy.
Frighteners, is that a Stephen King?
No.
I can't
It's a
remember.
Peter Jackson movie.
Oh, you just said that.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I don't know what it's based off of in anything, but it's got fucking Michael J. Fox in it and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
I
it
love that
forever.
movie.
Of course you do.
I honestly think that Jeffrey Combs, that's probably one of his better characters that he's played. Like, I know a lot of people love Reanimator, but after rewatching Frighteners so many times, he makes that movie Frighteners so much better.
I can't
My body is a roadmap of pain.
I don't remember that movie.
We watched it at your parents' house,
We did?
or we watched it at a cabin when we went to the cabin.
Oh, was I asleep?
I don't know. We watched it with
Probably.
your dad, and he was like, "This is stupid." Oh, you watch stupid movies.
You watch stupid movies.
Yeah, that's remember when he told us that shit.
Yeah.
They're like, Jesus, Dad. Anyway, sorry guys. This is funny. There was that scene where the cop, he's holding the criminal or whatever, and he comes up behind the Paris girl, Amanda Peet,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, she's like getting food out of the vending machine, and then the cop comes up behind her and asks her name, and she says Paris, and he says, never been. She said, well, you ain't going tonight.
That was pretty funny.
It is really, like I said, she probably wanted to name her that just so she
Right.
could, yeah.
Right. For that specific joke.
That's pretty clever writing, I thought.
It's brilliant.
But that, that is kind of the Jack Frosty guy, that, there was some pretty clever writing in Jack Frost, even if it is tongue-in-cheek silliness. But you find out he's the bad guy later on because he's got like a bullet hole in the back of his shirt when he changes his jacket or something.
Really, they're all bad guys.
Right. But then Ed, the limo driver, he comes back, obviously, because they can't get anywhere because of the runoff of the water is like flooded and they can't drive anywhere, which is pretty much the confines of this guy's mind.
Right.
Or the experiment that they're doing on his mind. That's what I was talking about. They were doing some sort of experiment.
Trapping the personalities together.
Right. To bring them together for the very first time. He talks about that a couple of times in the movie.
Right. So they can kill. Yeah.
So, so Ed comes into the dryer room in the hotel and he stops the dryers one at a time, which I thought was kind of a cool little scene there. I thought that was like neat how, it was really noisy in there and then he opens the one and then he opens another one and he keeps hearing this thud, 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 thud. And it's, of course, the head of the lady he's driving around. So it's like pretty funny when you see her head in there and they open it up and he's just like not fazed by it as much. Mm-hmm. He's just like, and that's when you find out he was a cop in the past. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if like his personality got mixed up with the other one that pretends to be a cop at some point in time.
Right.
You know what I mean? There was this really great scene, by the way, that I really love where you're the doctor, the guy who has all these personalities, because they keep cutting back to this like courtroom or something, you know what I mean?
It's
where
like
they
a lawyer's office or
something. Well, it's like the courthouse. It's like the courthouse where they sit and they talk and they do negotiations with lawyers behind the scenes or whatever and litigation bullshit. And they call in this judge in the middle of the fucking night and
he's all pissed.
Yeah, it's Donnie Darko's dad, by the way, that guy who is really good in this scene. I think it's one of the better scenes in the movie because just how he acts, he's like talking about how he had to come down here in the middle of the night and he said it better be fucking goddamn worth it or some shit like that. And it's like, it's really funny, like in the way his performance does. It's just, I don't know.
Right.
I really liked it. I wish I could have seen more of him in this movie.
Right.
But that was like his one big speaking line.
Yeah, I know. That was like it.
Yeah. There was the scene with the boyfriend and Ginny who dies when she's locked in the bathroom. And my God, I wanted to punch the television when she was screaming all the time.
Yeah, she was kind of annoying.
It was a little too much.
Yeah.
But I've been in relationships where weird shit, you know what I mean? Like, or been around relationships at least that have been like that toxic.
Well, it's that young couple type of thing. Like
right.
They're a young couple, they
trying
just got
to
married.
Force a square peg into a round hole.
Oh, she lied about being pregnant.
Yeah.
Just so they could get married.
Because she wanted to keep him because he was like
cheating on her
or some shit. Yeah.
It's like this. Why would you?
She was having that fit though, and I just was like, all right, that's enough.
Then he gets killed.
The suspect, the prisoner Jake Busey plays, they think did it because
he escaped.
Yeah, because he gets out of there, and they eventually lock and shut down him in the diner and like lock him up with his arms behind him around a pole or some shit like that. Which later you see a pretty cool scene where they used a fake dummy, obviously, to kind of make it so they jam a fucking bat down his throat.
That was cool.
That was cool looking. Yeah,
that was cool.
But it all happens off camera, so it's like
I wish
kind of an afterthought.
But then they would have had to show who killed him, and that would have spoiled the whole thing.
Well, they could have done the Giallo way and just used black gloves, but then you would have seen little boy hands, I guess. Wanna play? Come play with me, Daddy.
Little Chucky hands.
No fair. Pet Cemetery. Cage, I love you. No fair, Daddy. Anyway, but that was a cool thing. Funny story on that whole fucking situation. The life-size dummy was created to depict the murdered character, obviously, that Jake plays. One of the studio execs actually asked to keep the dummy as a souvenir and stored it in his office closet. And one night, a cleaning lady came and opened the closet and was like frightened so bad that he had to remove the dummy from the offices after that because it scared her so bad.
That is totally something I would do.
Yeah. She's like, oh my God, what did I fucking work at? Like, what the hell? He's a monster.
It's like when you go stay in a hotel room, before you leave, you roll up all the sheets together to look like a dead body.
Right, yeah. You know? I would be freaked out if I saw that in a closet suddenly.
That one, hell yeah. I'd be like, oh my God, what is this guy doing?
She must have been new at the job because there's no way that nobody would have seen that.
Right.
You know? Anyway.
Well, it was in the closet.
It was next to his real doll or something in the office. Where he fucks its mouth.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I always have to take it there.
Always got to go there.
Yeah, so, this is the part where the dad, the mom, the one that got hit by the car in the beginning, the stepfather of the kid of the mom who got hit and dies, which we find out later. But before she dies, the manager of the hotel, who's actually not the manager and actually just took over the establishment because some guy was dead in his pot pie when he came there and he was down on his luck from losing in Vegas or whatever. He freaks out because everybody's trying to pin it on him and then gets in a truck and guns it through the fucking parking lot. And the little kid is standing there. And the stepfather tries to save him, McGinley, the guy that plays, the dad, and he steps in front of him to push the kid out of the way, but the kid's just like moves out of the way perfectly.
Like, huh?
Yeah, he's like, he knew what was going to happen.
Control the situation.
And the way that McGinley gets fucking hit and slammed into the wall, which
cool.
was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And then like after that happens, you're thinking like they would have backed the truck up, right?
Yeah, to see if he's still alive.
To anything, like not to not have a body mangled on the thing, but I guess police business. I don't know. 20 minutes later, they pull him away from the fucking car.
Yeah, because they wanted to look for the goddamn key.
Right, because
That's on all the
everybody
dead
that dies
bodies.
gets a room key, even if
is-
it's not their room.
That was ridiculous to me.
It's
This
just
little
a
kid
little-
is going around planting keys on bodies.
Well, I don't even know that it was. It could have been used. It could have been the mind. Who knows?
Yeah, whatever.
He wasn't planting keys
He was
on
like,
people.
"Oh, I killed this guy. I'm gonna put a key."
It's
wanna
just
put
one
a
of those
key out
mysterious things. It's kind of trying to treat it like a giallo or a fucking slasher film.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of like
Throw you off.
to give you that
keep trying to
mystery kind of like.
Throw you off.
Yeah, it's like in a way, it's very much like that. That's why
That was probably my favorite scene is when he got hit by the car.
that was fucking cool.
It really was.
But they find a key on that guy, and then Ed, the limo driver, tells the girlfriend and the kid to leave and just keep driving because he suspects that the cop is the killer or something like that. Because they find that there's something up with the cop, and they realize that he's not
A cop or
a cop.
something.
Like little
He's not-
things like he didn't use something like a towel to pick something up, or you know what I mean? Like
Right.
he's just making little mistakes that an ex-cop would notice.
Right.
But he tells them to leave and they run around the car and the car fucking explodes. Which I was like, hell yeah. Like,
It's like they killed them off fast. They didn't
which is
even-
the crux of the whole thing, because they're like, oh, well, now we can remove the kid. So you're not even thinking about the kid anymore.
Right.
And they just disappear. They don't even find his body or the other girl's body. Right.
Mm-hmm. They did find a key though, didn't they?
I don't know.
I forget.
Then all the bodies disappear after that.
Oh, that's right.
So they go to H room where everybody died and all the bodies are gone.
Oh, and then didn't they find out they all had the same birthday?
They do. May 10th. Everybody finds out that they're, including all the missing dead people who had to use their IDs at the front at the hotel
Right.
to get a scanned copy of their ID so that they could, they find out that everybody has May 10th birthdays, and every single one of them is from their last name is the state of which they reside.
Oh, that's why she was named Paris.
Yeah. No, because her name was Paris,
Oh.
Washington or something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, state.
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
state in which they lived, yeah. Someone did the math on the odds of this, by the way, happening, that this many
birthday?
people will actually meet in real life having the same birthday at one event like this.
Uh-huh.
And the odds of 10 characters having the same birthday are approximately 1 in 115 sextillion.
Wow.
Like, of course somebody did the math on this dumb shit.
How many people do you know with your same birthday?
I have 3. I used to have a birthday party
Right, but it's
with 2 other people,
the same day.
Rachel and what?
Oh, are they on the same day?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's not the same hour.
Well, I know Rachel.
Yeah, I know
and then-
quite a few people that had my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which kind of takes away from it, to be honest. No, I'm kidding. I don't even really celebrate that much anymore, so it's like whatever.
Right.
But we used to do like 3 birthdays. We had a party once where we threw this huge event and just had a blast.
Right.
The limo guy, Ed, snaps back to the present where they're having the guy with the multiple personality syndrome, the dissociative disorder. They present him with a mirror and he gets completely confused and he's like babbling about, stuff that's happening in the hotel. And then they mention the new experiment and everything like that. And the doctor mentions that the only personality that can survive is the one that's not the killer.
Right.
And so they have to kill the one that is the murderer.
Right.
That this guy's getting locked up for. Because they're essentially fighting over whether or not he goes to a mental asylum or criminal prison.
Right.
So, which they think he belongs in a criminal asylum or something like that. And then I'm like, how do you prove that the fucking ID or personality is dead anyway? Like, how do you prove that? But I guess they're so distinct and the writing is so distinct. But if he can connect that many personalities in one, he could probably go back and trick people if he wanted.
Exactly, which is pretty
Kinda
much
what
what happens.
Yeah.
Because you could still, that personality could just stay suppressed.
Right. The back at the hotel, the lady of the night finds the cop is not a cop but a prisoner, and he kills the hotel guy. And then Ed gets into a gunfight. The limo driver gets into a gunfight with the fake cop, the not cop, and then they die, leaving the Amanda Peet character to survive, the only surviving identity.
Right.
Which, by the way, when Ed shoots Rhodes, which is Ray Liotta at the end of the movie, you can see Rhodes mouth the words, "I didn't do this," supposedly.
Oh, really?
I didn't notice it either.
Wonder why.
And then Ed replies, "I know."
Oh, that's right, because Ed knows that all these...
Yeah, they didn't mouth. They just mouthed it. They didn't audibly say it. You can't audibly hear it. They were muted because the director felt that this would make it obvious that Rhodes was not the killer, thus making the true climax of Timmy being the killer.
Okay.
Not surprising.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So he just wanted it in there for people who were, you know,
That's
I thought
smart.
that's cool.
That's a good Easter egg.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Little film touch. Little diddle. Little film diddle. That's terrible. It sounds so bad. Anyway, at the end, you find out she's doing the orange farm like she's talked about in the movie. Like, I just wanted her to do an orange farm. Stop trying to kill me. And my she goes out and has her orange farm, and she's always wanted. And she digs and finds a hotel key in the dirt.
Shit.
And then Timmy's behind her.
Timmy.
He disappeared earlier and he shows up and kills her, while simultaneously Malcolm is killing the doctor who has granted him to take him to an asylum, which is kind of cool. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a little silly, a little...
Yeah, that's where it kind of all just is like, ugh.
It is a little silly, but it's still cool that it went there. I appreciate that a little bit because it is fascinating. There's two things that I always find fascinating. The mind is fascinating in general.
Oh, yeah, totally.
The fact that anybody can come up with, different personalities is just interesting.
Do you think they really have personalities? Or
or possessions?
Because I kind of think they're possessions.
Right,
and
that's what I'm saying.
Like a technical term.
What if it's like all of his past lives that are like stuffed in there somehow?
Yeah, like they couldn't escape or something. Like
or
when
something.
he was traveling through, the beyond or the realm or whatever the fuck you call it, and
it's just interesting. And I always get into stuff with sleep too, because when I was a kid I was fascinated by the fact that I would sleepwalk and like not know what I was doing, or play a game of chess and not realize it, or
astral projection.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe that was my body trying to astrally project.
Right.
And that's why I like the movie Insidious, because of stuff like that.
Right.
Anyway. Now you guys are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Go there. We can keep going. We can keep going.
Anyway, we do have another movie that we're going to talk about to wrap this bitch up with a nice BTV bow, and that is...
TIMECRIMES.
TIMECRIMES with one word, by the way.
TIMECRIMES.
From 2007.
A man accidentally gets into a time machine. Accidentally. How do you accidentally get into... Anyway.
It happened. We saw it.
And travels back in time nearly an hour. Finding himself will be the first of a series of disasters of unforeseeable consequences.
And it was an hour and a half. That's what they said in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I thought that was short. I thought it was longer than that because it's like getting night to dark really quick.
Yeah, it really was. But maybe it was just at dusk. I don't know. But there is a tagline for this movie, and it's a trip back in time from present to crime.
Oh, my God.
Oh, all right. This movie was directed and written by Nacho Vigalondo.
Yep.
Obviously, this is a Spanish movie, so I just have to apologize ahead of time about my accent because I don't have one.
Well, just mention
So
there's
it's
only
hard.
4 characters, really. So,
Yeah, there is, so we'll be good. And actually, the director plays one of those characters. He's a scientist in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he has also done the Hulu Into the Dark episode called Puka.
Puka me, puka you.
He also did Colossal.
Yes, Colossal, which isn't a bad movie.
No, I remember that. He also did the VHS segment called Parallel Monsters.
Oh.
Which I think was the second.
It was the viral
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
Which was the one that everybody kind of broke off of. They were like, yeah.
Yeah, but still, at least he was
That
in
was the
it.
weaker of the 3, in my opinion.
He also did a movie we wanted to see called Extraterrestrial.
Yes, it's a comedy, mostly with a UFO backdrop. I watched the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like more like them locking themselves in the house going crazy while the UFOs are destroying the world.
Well, we need to watch that.
It looks fun.
I like stuff like that. But anyway, okay, so this movie stars Cara Elahade, who plays Hector. He was also in a movie called 100 Meters, Even in the Rain.
Apparently, he plays a lot of
And-
bad characters, like bad people.
I could see that. I thought he was going to be the villain. Well, I guess he's kind of a villain in this movie. He was also in a movie called Killer Housewives. All right. Clara, the wife, is played by Candela Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
She's done a lot of TV in Spain.
Right.
Pretty much. Okay, the woman in the forest is played by Barbara Gonaga. Also, she's done a lot of TV. The budget for this movie was $2.6 million. I saw it only grossed $500,000.
It's probably because it didn't get a wide distribution.
See, I don't
It was probably just test marketed a little bit in the area of Spain or whatever, but it got a lot of awards for being in the festivals and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So those are probably some of the numbers that they're talking about.
And you probably really like this movie, huh?
Well, I actually do, but I want to hear your thoughts on this movie. But just to be clear, he wrote and directed this movie.
Right.
And this is his first feature film.
Right.
So, what did you think?
I thought this was a pretty good movie.
Right.
I was very surprised. There was a couple scenes where I was like, well, I kind of knew what was going to happen, but there was so many twists, but they were clever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little predictable, but it had enough twist where you liked it and you were like, God damn it, duh. And like further on, you're like something would happen and then you figure out why it happened. And you're like, God damn it, I knew that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's like they leave a little piece that's like, why is that there? And then then you find out
and then
later.
They go
Yeah.
back to it, and you're like, "Oh, duh!"
Mhm.
And I like that. I like how it tricked me.
Yeah.
It tricked me with this little twist.
It's kind of good that you didn't know anything about it going in, too, right?
I really didn't. I just knew something happened in time.
Yeah.
Time travel. That's the only thing I knew, and it was a very clever way of doing it. And the actors were really good, especially for a foreign film. Like I really believed all of them.
Yeah. He's really good with dark comedy, sort of.
I really like that guy who played Hector too. I really liked his character.
Yeah, he was a surprise.
But I thought it
Real strong character.
It really was. He really was. It was very, very clever and not overly complicated because Identity was a little bit complicated.
A little bit.
But this one,
Not really. I don't think so. I think this
I
is
thought
more
so.
complicated than that.
I don't think so. But I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Really? Okay.
I really enjoyed this.
This is a good movie for you?
Yes.
You'd definitely watch it again.
I would definitely watch it again. I
Yeah.
actually want to watch it again so I could see all the other things I missed.
This is like my 3rd or 4th time watching it now.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Like I've seen it so many times. I think it was on like Netflix for a while, and then it's been on like other places for a while, and it's bounced around for quite a while. And I always end up watching it, and I was like, oh, I'll just pop this in and watch a little bit, fall asleep, and then I'm like up the whole
Like,
fucking movie.
You have to know what happens.
Yeah, like I really get into it. And I actually kind of forgot a lot of the stuff that happened in this movie, which is weird after seeing it so many times. I'm a huge sucker for travel, like time travel movies,
Yes, you are.
especially when they are twisty and dark like this one. And there's quite a few actually dark time travel movies, which are, out there that you can watch right now. And I'll list off a couple ones that you might want to check out if you're into these kind of things, guys. So grab your pens and paper and your decoder rings, because we're going to get wild. BTV style. Anyway. One of the movies that I always like that's like a dark time travel, probably one of the more complex ones, is called Primer. That's a very indie.
The hell is that?
It is probably the most complex time travel movie I've ever seen. There's another one that I can't remember that was dealing with photographs where they take Polaroids and they can tell the future on a Polaroid before it happens.
Oh.
Something weird about that. And when it develops, it's like the future.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember which one that is, but
Doctor Strange. No, I'm just kidding.
you got the butterfly effect, which is, kind of a time travel movie in a way. It's he's not like the same person. He is the same person at a different time in a different parallel. Because things keep changing and everything like that. So I like that. And even the sequels, which actually get a little bit more horror.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. Some of them, they're not great. I mean, the first one's the best, but Plus One, it's a more teen version of like parallel people like existing on the same plane. Still dark, pretty good. Plus One, you've seen that with me.
Have I?
It's the kids at a party. They're having a party and then they like things go back 15 minutes. Pretty cool movie.
I don't remember.
Another one
cool.
is Coherence, which is a really damn good one that goes even further. Little spotty acting at moments, but once you get into the story, it really doesn't even matter at that point because it's like such a cool idea and concept. So, and then you have this one, Time Crimes, which it's a movie from Spain, and it's one of the better dark time travel ones that I've seen. I've really enjoyed watching this one. The sheer amount of work that goes into the brain exercises that one would have to do with the amount of work with like how you would tell this tale and the way they did it with how it's all mixed up, it's just really cool.
Yeah.
It's like got that Memento sort of style. Everything's kind of backwards. Like things unfold a different way than normal time travel.
Memento was such a good movie. I forgot about that one.
But it's, you know what I mean? Like everything is just, it's not a time travel movie, but it is, it's done in such a way that the way you have to write it. He said it took him like 5 years to write this.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I can understand that.
Because it's so complex.
Yeah, it really was.
Not to mention the logistics of setting up cameras everywhere to capture the same takes is pretty crazy and thoughtful too. So
yeah, the timing. There
is some funniness to this, although it's not a comedy. It's dark, it's smart, a little gory and unique. It's not afraid to show some stuff. Nothing like it's not a gore fest or anything like that. It's like watching a mystery unfold backwards, and it poses the question of which came first, the chicken or the egg, or in this case, the Hector or the time machine. As I saw in an interview, I was like, oh my God, they did the chicken and the egg thing with that. And I had already written this, and I was like, what the fuck? But in the movie, it is really hard to say which is happening first.
Yeah.
You really don't know.
And why certain things happened.
Be careful, yeah. Don't say. Definitely a film that doesn't get nearly the love I think it should. I think most people should be checking this out. It may not be straight up horror or anything like that, but I think it's incredibly appealing to people who like horror movies. And I think you will appreciate the concept of this movie and enjoy its ride. Because it kind of takes you there, but like tricks you a lot of ways. And like I said, not a lot of gore, but a little. So
just a little.
If you're into concepts, thrillers, and time travel, this is definitely for you. It's nice to kind of break out of the mold a little bit of horror and kind of traipse on the outer tiers of fucking, genre filmmaking. So I'm glad that we kind of get to do this week because it's nice. It's nice to talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, it's a nice little break, or
Yeah, because we've been hitting it hard with some
hitting it hard.
Yeah, we've been fucking the shit out of these movies. But I'd give this one an 8 too, and I'll come back to watch this again for sure, as it's been my third or fourth time watching it again anyway. So I mean, it's got to get at least an 8, and I think it could have gone further, but on the budget that they had,
they did great.
It's great. It's a really successful story, and it makes me kind of want to watch Colossal and Extraterrestrial because he's a good writer.
Yeah, right.
I think he's a good writer, and it's good stuff. So I would highly recommend checking it out. By the way, this one's on Tubi TV, so if you want to check it out, it does have advertisements. I think we had like 5 breaks in the whole movie.
It was good. Bathroom break, check your phone.
Like write notes. But yeah, I mean, it's free, so what are you going to do?
Right.
So, also, I forgot to mention there was another movie called Triangle, which deals with time travel as well.
Oh.
in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, what's that?
We did a review of that with Mike and Patrick, I think. Back in the day. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty cool movie. It's got a lot of gore and murder and shit. It's got like a horror thriller vibe. So, but yeah. So we're right on the money with each other. It's 888. 888. Well, it's 8, and because of the average, it's 8. That's what I meant. So we do have some trivia on this, and not a whole lot. And we're not going to go through too much of the scenes here, so we won't drag you through it. I think it's just worth a watch. Right. We'll pick out some moments that we think are cool or something like that. But if you don't want anything spoiled, highly recommend you go down to the timestamps below and check out at the end of the episode where we talk about what we're going to be reviewing for next week, so you guys know ahead of time, or you can just check our social media, whatever. But if you don't want anything spoiled, here's your warning. So this, the director said when he got nominated for an Oscar for a short film that he did, he was like, I really need to push myself and like challenge myself and do a feature film. And he was like, this is the one. This is going to be the movie that I need to do it about. He's like, when, you know, directors have like their 20 films or whatever that are made, the first one's always the one that's like, bang, like, what the fuck was that? Like the what the fuck movie or whatever. And so he knew for sure that he wanted to push this one and play it a little bit more straight than a lot of his other work, which was to be a little bit more silly. Like I watched like
Puka.
No, well, yeah, that is too. But I mean, I'm talking before this is his first feature film. Right. I watched one of his shorts that was included on the DVD, and it was like about this guy with singing in a fucking cafe with a bunch of people who are hesitant to sing and scared. And he's got a bomb strapped to his chest, and he's like singing jovial like, and goes outside and blows up with a bag of confetti. And then confetti hits everybody's faces when he goes outside. Like, you know, it's just silly. You know, he's like got this dark sense of humor, and I love it. There was an English language remake that was originally planned to happen with. Really? Yeah. It was supposed to happen with United Artists. However, the project never came into fruition, and it hit a deadline with no product. In 2011, the project was moved to DreamWorks with Steve Zalian, who is the writer for Schindler's List, by the way. Weird. So he's a very, you know, classically trained writer. And he was going to write and produce the film, which in my mind, I'm like, does it really need an American remake?
Yes, because Americans won't watch it. Because it has subtitles. Yeah,
well, stupid, but
I know.
I understand people wanting to, but I mean, it would have to be really good. And then I found out who was going to direct it.
Who's going to direct?
Supposedly, at the time, they were saying David Cronenberg.
Oh.
Yeah, which I'm like, God damn it.
So what happened?
You're fucking with my remakes in my head.
Why didn't it happen?
Well, so I did some digging around. David Cronenberg addressed this rumor that it was because somehow it got out and it was like all over the place. But this is what he said. TIMECRIMES, that was a strange thing, but that's what happens, I guess. They proposed it to me. I said no. And then suddenly it was on the net, like I'm doing it. And I think the producer was so excited that I'd read it and look at their original movie that he started talking about it like it's happening. And then he was like, actually, I think it was the director of the Spanish version was responsible for saying I'm doing it, but I was never doing it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I know. But somebody asked him about what he thought about somebody doing a remake so soon. I mean, he was like, I'm just done with this movie now. He's like, I'm just on to ready to do other stuff because he's like, I literally have been living with this for 5 years. Right. Trying to write this and cater it. I'm done. Right. It's like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm happy that it's doing well. Right. But after fucking living and breathing it for 5 fucking years, I'm done with it. I don't want to look at it ever again.
It's like singers who sing the same songs over and over and over, and then they refuse to sing, you know, their songs. I mean, I totally get it.
One of the people that was interviewing him kind of seemed a little taken back by that. And he didn't want to come off too strong, but I totally understand because it's like when you've listened to, like when we did our last album or whatever, we spent so much time on it. And that was like 1.5 years, you know what I mean? And like this guy did 5 years. I'd be done with it too. Right. Nacho Vigalondo also said that he credits the 2000 AD comic magazine as the biggest influence on TIMECRIMES, particularly the Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons one-off called Chrono Cops from issue number 310 in 1983.
Wow.
So he said that was like a huge influence on him. It's so weird to me when I think about this. Like, how can anybody pinpoint their inspirations and stuff? Because I'm a firm believer that most people, they may be influenced by somebody. It's hard not to be. But how can you pinpoint it?
Well, if something sticks with you, like since you were a kid or whatever.
Right. Well, you can totally, like we did the website called longlivethevoid.com.
Right.
That's totally, I can pinpoint that's inspiration from Long Live the New Flesh of Cronenberg's Videodrome.
Right.
But like, I don't know, like if I was making a movie and I was just writing from the creative space as a writer, I would have a hard time just like kind of piecing it together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like figuring out where that stemmed from, because like sometimes after a long while you forget that you were inspired by something and you think that you even made it up sometimes.
Right. Like
when you're being creative, you don't realize that you borrowed that from somewhere else. And then people are like, oh, you stole that. It's like, no, calm down. So some of the scenes on this movie, I guess we'll go into that now and just kind of like free talk about it. Older couple moves into a new house in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, pretty much next to a facility of a time travel company. Apparently,
it's like the people who live next to CERN.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're opening a portal into another dimension. Mandela effect. It's kind of interesting stuff when you think about it, but I don't know how much I believe in it.
That could be a whole other conversation.
Well, I was really into the whole Mandela effect thing because there's been movies that I've thought about that I knew existed, but just nowhere did they exist. And it doesn't make sense. Like,
oh, batteries not included?
Yeah, that's my Mandela. Like the Mandela effect, if you guys aren't familiar, is where they call it the Mandela effect because throughout history, everybody kept saying Nelson Mandela died. Kept saying it. And everybody's like, well, I thought he was already dead. Like, what the fuck? And this is before the internet, by the way.
But it's like he died in the 80s, but he died in like the late... He died in like the 2000s.
I don't know what day it was or anything of that shit, but I just know that a lot of people were comparing it. Yeah,
there was like a whole decade.
It was like people kept saying he's dead, and it's like, yeah, we knew that he's already been dead, and they're like, no, he just died, or no, I don't know. So people get confused on it, and they call it the Mandela effect because of that. But yeah, what was it? Batteries not included. I watched the first one. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch both of these tonight. I watched the first one. I was like, yeah, and I was like, I gotta find it online and rent it or something. I was like, batteries still not included. And I was like, I even went to the store earlier that day. I bought it. That's what it was. Because they didn't have the sequel. And I remember going, they didn't have the sequel, so I guess I'll just watch this one. And then I watch it that night and then go looking for the other one, and it didn't even exist. Right. So I don't know. I don't know how we got to this point, but
you didn't get the update.
Yeah, I didn't get the this
Matrix
universe's update. Yeah. Anyway, so these old couple move into this house next to a fucking time machine facility. It's the weekend, by the way, because that's where the character, the scientist, is.
He's there on the weekend.
He's obsessed with the project, doing like work on the project while nobody's there to see him because he's curious about it. Mm-hmm. And he's not supposed to be there. But the older man, this is all before all of that. He sees like a woman undress in the forest, with his binoculars. And of course, being the weird pervy guy that he is and curious what's going on, which I don't know if I'd want to walk out there and do.
Right.
But he goes out there to investigate to find her laying there naked, knocked out, and gets stabbed in the arm by a guy with like a pink bandana, like a pink bandages on his head and scissors. And then he runs off. And you see like, this is where I noticed that I saw the ring on his finger.
Oh, because that's why you asked.
He used the hand to stab him with the same hand of the scissors that your wedding ring would be on.
Right.
And then they even show his hand with the ring later, just after that.
Right.
And that was like a kind of a small wink.
Yeah.
But
totally.
This movie doesn't like try to hide the fact that this is the same guy.
Right, they don't.
Like they do for like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie or 20 minutes. It's like 3 parts.
Right, because you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
You just see some titties and then
some 80s
somebody
titties.
Gets stabbed.
Yeah, that's funny. But he runs off and smashes a rock through the neighbor's window. And I'm like, at first I'm like, dude, it's an emergency, man. But like, find a door. Like, you don't need to smash a window.
Start knocking on some doors or something.
Well, now they're going to be able to get in too. Like, that's immediately what I was thinking.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing?
Hey, I'm here. Come get me.
But he ends up in the laboratory of this time travel place. You don't find that out at first, although there is a part where he's near the phone and talking on it, and they show something about time travel on the computer that I didn't recognize.
I didn't even catch that.
Somebody pointed it out in some of the information, but But then he finds a walkie-talkie, talks to the scientist. The scientist tells him, hey, come up here, I'll help you. You got to come up to the lab where the lab is, follow these lights. He's like, I can see the fucking pink bandage guy on the fucking the TV, and then he's coming for you. You better run. You got to run. And then he runs up there, finally gets in there. He's like, hide in this tank. And I'm like, why is he hiding in this tank? And it's all water, like milky water.
Yeah.
He's like, he'll never suspect you in here. And I would have been really suspect of that.
Well, he was supposed to get in there too, remember? He was like, why aren't you getting in here? What's going on?
He's like, I have to hit the thing from the outside. And then he goes in, and then it opens up, and it's daytime. And when it was nighttime, when he went in, and he's like spitting up all this milk, and the same guy's there, the same scientist, only he doesn't know him.
Right.
Like he knew him before.
Or he's pretending.
Yeah, because we find out later that he's not the first iteration of fucking Hector. There's two more.
Right.
And that's like the really cool thing that I like about this movie is that it's like there's different versions of Hector. There's like the dumb one that just stumbles upon all of this. The second one, which seems like a murderer.
Well,
and then the third one, who's like the plotting, like, genius.
Right.
The callous genius.
He knows what's going on and everything that's going to happen.
Right.
Because he's already been through it.
He's mastered time travel.
You done?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go through all the different things that happen, but there are some cool things that maybe you want to point out.
You really have to see it to...
It's hard to break down, but I like little things that they did, like putting the ladder up against the house, or his wife getting pulled off the fucking roof, and it wasn't his wife.
It wasn't his wife. They ended up... Hector 3 ended up disguising the girl. 3
Hector emotions going on at that point. And it's like you feel bad for him. So it's like you have to go back in time and do all these things.
Right. And
like, how is he going to figure it out?
And the scientist guy, I was like, why doesn't he just like kill them all or something? Like instead he's like going along with it. And I liked how during Hector 2, the scientists tried to hide the battery. So then they had to go through the whole process of like, he knew he tried to hide the battery. Like you could see the progression of Hector. Like he knew what was going on.
Yeah, that was a really cool like moment where he was like, he goes back to go back in time for the second time. Mm-hmm. Gonna go back in time.
That's what we always say. It's always Back to the Future.
It's like an inside joke with us. I don't know why. So he goes back to go back in time a second time, and then when he shows up, the guy's like, he's like, you can't go back in time. And he's like, what do you mean I can't go back in time? And then he notices one of the things is missing, the fuses. Mm-hmm. And he's like, wait, how did you know that I was going to ask you to go back in time? Mm-hmm. And that's when he realizes that there's a Hector 3, because they name each one. He's like, I'm Hector 2.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, and that's Hector 3. So Hector 3, like, is really twisty. I thought it was really a cool little thing there.
Right. And it like worked out in the end. But like my thing was like, it's just so like loopy. Like the whole thing when he runs into the girl in the forest.
Right.
It's like, and he only made her take her top off because that's what he originally saw. So it's just weird.
Yeah, I thought it was like,
I mean?
It's kind of crazy that like he was making this girl do all this weird shit.
Right.
But in the same regards, the whole thing is fueled by the fact that if he doesn't do the exact same thing that he never knew he was doing,
right,
the way that it was supposed to be, then he wouldn't exist.
Right.
So he was like losing his mind doing dumb shit that he didn't understand why it was happening because he's seeing the future.
Right.
And he doesn't understand why it's happening and unfolding the way it is. And the way that they do it, I was really impressed with that.
Really?
It was very cool. Like how he hit the car. He was hitting himself with the car.
I didn't even realize it was him hitting the car until they actually showed it, because you forget that he got into a car accident.
Right. And then the van drove off, but then you find out later in the third Hector that he actually crashed.
Right.
And then he falls out and is like talking on the walkie-talkie again.
And then he runs into the girl in the forest because she screams, and when she screamed with Hector number 2, you thought it was because but no, it was because she ran into Hector 3.
Right. And he's like, and it's funny because like she's scared of Hector too, but it's the same person.
But she doesn't know.
And she doesn't know because he has the bandages on his face.
Yeah.
But then when she runs into Hector 3, they're like buddies. So it's like this really interesting like mental dynamic that's going on.
Yeah, and then Hector 3 knew to lure her to his house because that way she could pose for the wife.
Right. And this whole happenstance thing that turns into, I love the fact at the very end, I thought it was cool. It's a little abrupt and kind of like whatever, but it's like, she's like being chased in the house by himself.
Right.
And she's scared. She's like, someone jumped over the fence. I don't know what to do. He's like, don't worry. I've got it. Seriously. It's cool. And then he sets up lawn chairs outside, cuts the girl's hair to make her, puts on his wife's jacket. He's like, we got to trick him.
Right.
And she's like, what do you mean we got to trick him? And she just kind of goes along with it.
Right.
He pulls on her leg. She falls, snaps her neck, and thinks it's her so that he can go back and be 3.
Right. When
it happens. And like, that's how he stops it. And his wife's like, hears the scream and wants to get up. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. It's fine. And I'm thinking to myself, like, even though he beats time at the very end, like, and he does that.
Yeah, he does. Which is
his
weird.
handprints are over everything. So the death of that woman, it's going to be him the whole time.
Oh, so he might get, well, what if she broke in and she fell?
I mean, it's possible,
You know?
but his hands are going to be on the scissors. His hands are,
Yeah, but I mean,
she was,
he lives
by the
there.
way, she was a hairstylist in the movie. That's why she was riding her bike. That was the backstory.
Oh, I thought she had scissors because she had a whole like first aid kit.
No, it was because she was a
She's
hairstylist.
A hairstylist? That's okay. That's weird. But okay.
Yeah, they didn't tell you that, but she was going to cut a client's hair.
Well, she should have cut her own hair to die then.
Well, she shouldn't have been riding up there in the first place.
Right.
If people are doing time travel, like you just don't stay around that.
No.
Just kidding.
No. I'm sure people around CERN aren't.
But definitely,
doing that.
wouldn't he get in trouble though?
I don't know. I guess not.
No, I'm saying at the end of the movie, they cut it off, but like, is everything settled? But now he's going to deal with the debris of how all the officers are going to come and like research what the fuck happened.
What if the scientist comes around and can vouch for it? Because somebody broke into his facility. So whoever killed her just got away.
Yeah, because they didn't really tell you what happens to the scientist guy at that point.
Right.
Other than he has to go back.
Right, and that's it.
Back in time. Anyway, what did you guys think? Did you enjoy the twists and stuff like that? Obviously, you saw it. I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think of these 2 movies, actually. It's always nice to hear what you guys think about these movies when we watch them and everything. I know not every movie's for everyone, and some people just like to listen to the spoiler-free section, but you're missing out if you're
Yeah, you really should.
You should watch these with
really
us. I mean, we don't always know if they're going to be good or not, so yeah, you do take the risk.
It ain't no killer crocodile.
Yeah. These were actually pretty solid films. So we're going to be talking about some new movies next week, and we haven't exactly figured that out yet, or have we?
Have we?
We were dabbling with doing some trauma movies, but we're also thinking about doing something from a pile that we got. We got some new Vinegar Syndrome movies in.
Let's do that.
Do you want to go grab them and see? We got a bunch of stuff. They're old. Some of them are old. They're like 80s. So it's like trauma, 80s. I don't know. Christina's going to get the movies right now, so we'll see what she thinks. So we're going to go back to the 80s again because I can't get out. Yeah. I can't get out of it. I'm sorry. But we just got these new Vinegar Syndrome movies in, and I got Bloodbeat and Night Train to Terror, which I think you can watch both of these on Amazon Prime. I'm not 100% sure. I'll check and make sure, but we'll put that up on the Thursday or Friday then when we let you guys know. But one of them is about a killer samurai, ghost samurai or some shit like that. And another one is Night Train to Terror, which is just off the wall, fucking insane. A basic rock band gives their final performance on a hellbound trip into the outer reaches of horror. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
You just can't hide it, Christina. Well, I hope you guys are excited for that. Thank you guys so much for coming by this week. And we will be back for a brand new episode next week. And as always,
Long live the void.
You have been listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in